do a year in review at first. What actually happened? What was the change that caused us all the headache a year ago? Apple Mail introduced a privacy-focused opt-in for tracking opens and any activity within email, but it's mostly impacting opens. What they do is the invisible pixels we are using in email tracking for opens, they are actually triggering them when the email is received or when there are specific criteria met. So we get the information that the email was opened, even though the end user didn't actually open the email, didn't see the email. This was, as I said, enabled a year and 2 weeks ago. And by now, 80% of Apple mobile devices are using the 15 plus version. There is no exact data, but the estimation is that 95% of users are using the mail privacy protection, as it's sort of very vaguely described in the settings, and I think there is sort of like a forced opt-in into this feature. So what are the implications of the change? These changes apply only to Apple Mail users who have opted into the privacy feature. Opens are significantly overreported as Apple is preloading or prefetching the invisible pixels, as I mentioned. This is firing the tracking pixel. We are seeing the open come in. So we can say it's a false open or fake open, and we cannot really tell whether a human or the privacy feature triggered the email open. This applies to both iOS and macOS. All the different devices are impacted, so it doesn't matter if the email was open on desktop or device, mobile device. Another important thing to mention is that this impacts any email address if the email address is integrated with Apple Mail. So this might be Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, any address might be impacted. It's not just iCloud accounts that Apple is providing. This made things very hard and complicated for things like unopened personalization for displaying local weather or a store that is close to your location, as the open is triggered at a random time and from a random place. So it's not really feasible to look at this data for the type of use cases. Fortunately for us, delivery, bounce, and click metrics have not been impacted as they use different technologies than the tracking pixels. So these are the metrics and data we can still rely on. So how did it actually impact open rates? Before this change, we used to say that benchmark for good unique open rate is 20% and more. Today, if you are not filtering out the Apple Mail opens, it's 50% and more. So essentially, the benchmark doubled, and so did the actual open rates reported for many of the brands, especially those where the demographic setup of the customer database is leaning towards higher usage of mobile devices, especially Apple devices. We can segment these users and we can work with them in reporting. So I'll be showing you some specific examples and some specific segmentations in the next few slides. Just a reminder, if you have any questions, you can join our Slido with hashtag best practices, and there is also a link posted in chat. So except for the total and unique open rates, there are other metrics which are impacted, mostly the ones which rely on opens as part of the formula. So the main one is click to open rate, which many of you were or are using to evaluate the engagement with specific campaigns after they are opened. The click activity, as I said, it's not impacted, but as opens are impacted and have risen by as much as 60% or 100% in some cases, then the click to open rate is decreasing significantly. The click to open rate is no longer a reliable metric. Fortunately, the click to delivered is still reliable. It's not been impacted, and it still gives you a true story of how the engagement with a specific campaign is going on. Another thing impacted is A/B testing, as a lot of you were evaluating, for example, your subject line A/B tests based on open activity. For mail privacy protection users or Apple Mail users, this cannot really be used, as we will get random data. It's not going to give us any idea about how the actual A/B test is performing. But even within our product, we've enabled a long time ago that you can select the metric that you want to use. So it doesn't have to be open rate. It can be click rate. It can be conversion. It can be any other data point from the customer, session start, etc. We would still recommend to use the open rate as criteria for non-Apple Mail users or non-mail privacy protection users, as those are not impacted. So you are not losing the access to A/B test completely based on open rate activity. We've also seen that the segmentation models that we are recommending and many of our clients are using that reference open data, they had a huge increase in the active segment. As we are getting a lot of false opens, the criteria for active segment is open within the last 90 days. So all the Apple Mail users, or most of them, are falling into this segment.